There seems to be some misconceptions about the fan base and how the votes are going to be split for Love Island USA Season 8, and we got to get into it. Hey there, it's Anonymous Tea, where we spill the tea anonymously. Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, YouTubers. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day today, sending good vibes, sending positivity, sending blessings, and good energy to each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, anything I say is alleged and in my very, very personal opinion. This for entertainment purposes only. None of this is personal. The Copyright Act of 1976 is in the description box. Some meat and potatoes, some housekeeping items. So, today we are talking Love Island USA Season 8. So, I'm back, y'all. I am back. We have a first look that is going to be dropping in a few hours at the time I'm recording this video. And there seems to be a lot of discourse over the vote that we did the other day in terms of you having to vote for 4 couples. I personally think that this was production's attempt to ensure that the core 4 makes the final. There also was apparently something in the instructions that I completely didn't see, which was you have to rank. I don't know if that's true or not, but basically, since Anaya's name was first, I put her first anyways. I think ultimately, no matter what, Anaya and Carl and Trinity and Bryce are safe, are locks for the finale. I feel like Melanie has enough votes, has enough supporters to get herself into the finale. I feel like the real battle is for 4th place. But I think people have misconceptions of how large the fan bases are for, that there seems to be this misconception that Trinity and Bryce fans and Carl and Anaya fans are splitting votes, and that's somehow going to help Casey and TT. And I'm here to tell y'all that y'all are wrong. I'm here to tell y'all that are wrong. Bryce and Trinity has several, men, women, white, black. They have several demographics that are voting for them, that are 10 toes down for them. I'm not worried about them, just like I'm not worried about Carl and Anaya's fans. They also have black voters. They have a multitude of different voters. They have BTS Army. They have all types of votes, right? I think people are under the false assumption that Anaya fans and KC fans are splitting votes or whatever the case may be, and that couldn't be further from the truth. If you're an Anaya supporter, an Anaya fan, you're voting for her 10 toes down. If you are a part of the NBA Twitter and the gambling people who are not watching the show and are just reacting to clips and all of this and all of that, like you guys are your own separate thing, but ultimately, women are the primary audience, are the primary demographic of this show. And so now what is happening is basically, I think some of the fans have realized that in the event, if Casey does not make top 4, that they're going to root for Melanie and Sincere. What? There's a lot of wild logics that are going around, right? Here was the purpose of the vote, what I believe production is trying to say, right? They're trying to say, with what happened on the karaoke episode, when they announced the top 4 couples, and they said Anaya and Carl, they said Trinity and Bryce, they said Melanie and Sincere, they said Casey and TT, right? We do not know the difference in votes between Casey and TT supporters versus Zach and Kata supporters. We do not have that information as far as what that distribution looks like, how close in the vote that they are. We do not have that information. But I believe what production was trying to do. Production was trying to say Casey has a very strong support of voters, right? That has already displayed that they can get Casey in the top 4 if they wanted to. They're basically trying to say Kata and Zach, Kenzie and Dylan do not have that type of support. Melanie has her own set of supporters. Anaya and Anaya Carl fans have their own set of supporters. Trinity and Bryce supporters have their own set of supporters, but we need to find a way to either get Kenzie and Dylan into this final or Kata and Zach into this final, which I believe is also the reason why they still wanted to keep it top 6 for Family Day when usually it's like top 5, right? It seemed like to me they wanted to still milk these Islanders, Kenzie and Casey in particular, and possibly Kata and Zach, depending on how this vote goes. You know what I'm saying? Milk them until they can't milk them anymore, right? But I believe the purpose of this vote was to get in Kata and Zach into the final or get in Kenzie and Dylan into the final. And I feel like, unfortunately, some of these people, their voting strategies was interesting. Some people were voting for Kenzie and Dylan, not realizing that that could help propel whatever base they have. You know what I'm saying? But the whole point that I believe production was specifically trying to get Core 4 into the final. And I believe they did this particular vote because they knew that without this type of a vote, KC would be a lock for the final based off of the last results of the America vote, right? That basically that would be the top 4. If you guys catch what I'm putting down, the top 4 still would have been based off of the last vote of the karaoke vote. Because it's clear to me that Kata and Zach Attack have lost a significant number of their supporters. But that has not been the case for Trinity and Bryce and Anaya and Carl and Melanie and Sincere. It doesn't matter how toxic Melanie and Sincere is or how bad y'all want Melanie to self-evict or quit the show or any of the things, that her fan base is going to propel her to the top. You know what I'm saying? They're going to propel her and make sure she gets into that finale. I believe this vote, this is just my opinion, I believe this vote is to knock out Casey and TT from the running. I believe this vote was that they knew that the Core 4 fans are going to vote Core 4. And that would wipe out Casey and TT. I feel like this is a means to an end. And if for some reason production does not get the desired result of this top 4 that they want, which is really Core 4, if they get the result that they want of either Core 4 or somehow Kenzie sneaking into the top 4, they're going to do an automatic elimination. They're going to do an automatic elimination and say this is by America's votes. But if for some reason there was still enough votes to mathematically put KC in the top 4, they're going to do a bottom 3. They're going to do a bottom 3, and they're going to make the Islanders pick who else can go to the final. Watch this space. They're going to do a bottom 3 or a bottom 2 and make the Islanders, you know what I'm saying, choose which out of the couples is going to be final 4. You know what I'm saying? It's clear as day what the intent was of this particular vote. This intent of this vote was Core 4 to the finals or Kenzie to sneak in and take Kata and Zach Attack's spot. But it is convenient that all of a sudden you want to give a good edit for Casey and Tate. But previously, when Casey and Anaya were a couple, they always got a bad edit heading into a vote. But now all of a sudden you want to give Casey and Tate a good vote, a good edit, kind of almost to make it seem as though like this is a send-off for them. Kind of how like you sent off Ace and Shelly last season and Taylor and Clark after both of those couples went exclusive. But I feel, for me, that this was intentional to ensure a Core 4 finale, and they do not feel that Kata and Zach or Kenzie and Dylan have enough supporters on their own to secure them a spot in the finale. But I believe what production is saying, we see all the gambling, we see all what's going on. We believe Casey has enough fans that can vote him into that top 4 spot without this particular vote. but we need something to ensure that either Kenzie and Dylan get there or that Kata and Zach get there. And if people who were Team Core 4 voted Core 4, that is going to be the final 4 couples. But if for some reason Kenzie's able to sneak in there, production will take it. If for some reason there still was a lot of votes for KC, they're going to make it down to the Islanders. Watch this space. That is going... Now, I don't know if the results of our vote is going to happen after Family Day in tonight's episode, or if they're just going to do a double dumping on Friday's episode, because like I said, it's giving to me, since production's clearly not bringing in any other bombshells. Sometimes they do the last week, and they would have done it Sunday or Monday if that would have been the case, but unfortunately it looks like they're just not bringing anyone else in, so they're maximizing, who they got. If I'm thinking of what production's doing, they're going to milk these 6 couples until Friday. They're going to milk these 6 couples until Friday. And ultimately, after that, we will just go into Sunday's episode with the top 4 couples, right? Is what I feel is going to happen. We still did not have a Twitter challenge. We still have not had a baby challenge, so I don't know if that potentially is why they're going to try to stretch this out to maybe squeeze in another challenge or 2 with this group of Islanders, and we'll see if there's an elimination after, Family Day, or like I said, if it's going to extend out until we won't know until Friday who officially is going to get dumped from this villa. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments. Who did you guys vote for? I told y'all my rationale that I did the Core 4 because ultimately I knew that Kata and Zack Attack are not going to have the fan base to try to sneak in a win. And ultimately, that there was no way I was voting Kenzie into no final because she has no connections. She has no romantic connections and has just been doing all this nonsense the entire time. And unfortunately, I couldn't do KC and TT for a multitude of reasons because I am not buying what they are all of a sudden selling. If they did not do this stunt the other episode, you know what I'm saying? We could have had another conversation. But the fact that they did this stunt the previous episode, I was off of it. I was off of it because I saw the play. Why is it that Anaya and Carl do not feel that they have to do anything performative for, the finale or anything like that? They're just off in their own little world. Why is it after Trinity and Bryce became boyfriend and girlfriend on that date, which is typically what happens on the show, you become boyfriend and girlfriend on these dates, or decide to close off on these dates or things like that, or say I love you on these dates. Even they didn't do anything performative. You know what I'm saying? But both Zack Attack and Casey and TT both did stuff after it was announced that they were, you know what I'm saying, when Zack Attack was at the bottom of the vote and Casey found out he was at the top of the vote. But I feel like this vote was specifically to try to get Casey and TT out because production knew that if you are Core 4 supporters, you are going to get Kata in there, even though she does not have the fan base. So that's my opinion. That is my thoughts, you guys. I want to hear from y'all in the comments. What do you guys think the purpose of the vote was? What do you think the purpose of them specifically saying vote for couples of who you would like to see in the finale? Do you think it was to make sure KC and TT do not get there and ensure Core 4 gets there or Kenzie gets there? Or do you have any other speculations? Please let me know what you guys think, you guys. Do not forget to hype the video. Hype the video, please. There's that. That's it. That's all. It's toast. It's final. It's finito. It's the end of the road. It's the end of the line for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post some content on my channel. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys again very soon.